It's a quick and easy job. That's my favorite saying.
Cheers, everyone. If you're watching this video, you probably know I'm the CNC repairman, and you probably have a machine, and it probably has a gear shift issue. The most common gear shift issue is the solenoids go bad. We've got a video about gear shift alarms and all the troubleshooting aspects, but this video is going to be more an overview. If you're looking to get like quick, don't watch this video. This is me long form talking about kind of the history of it, the issues, how it works. I'm gonna just try to give you as many examples as I can give you to help you understand how the whole system works. I'm the CNC repairman. For your spindle belt, I'm gonna show you how the Niagara Falls tool operates. Let's talk about gear shifts. Your machine is a 2-speed gearbox. If it has a gearbox, a high speed and a low speed, and that shifts via this solenoid here, this solenoid here. This is what's in your machine, that solenoid there, or just the single one. So more history. Machines came out, they were plastic, they had a gearbox, and then they went to metal enclosures, and they had DC motors, they went to AC motors, then they went to, right in that era, they went from spindle drives to vector drives, and that's when they had shot pin. We got videos all about shot pins, and then manual orientation with parameters. So this is history. This would be original up to vector drive. Shot pin, yeah, because it sits like this in the back of your machine. Shot pin, pre-charge, gear shift. Then vector drive only, pre-charge, gear shift. Then I got this. This is a cover, so it was a older style valve with pre-charge, no shot pin. Here's the thing, this valve is the same series, but this valve and this valve are a different series than this one. So you can't use this one for either way. Here that they put a cover over it. So at CNC Replacement Parts, we offer the whole kit because I really don't like butchering machines. I mean, I've seen people with wire nuts and garbage, and you show up and you're just like, who worked on this? Oh, sometimes it was me. Well, I say that to myself, but this kit is lock, stock, barrel, the whole thing. It's got the plug, the right plug, the right plug. This is a jumper. It's easier and it's clean. This is the right plug, the right kit, no hassle. Unplug the old one, plug the new one in. Now, if you just want to change one valve, save some money, I get it. You can get the single valve, and this is pretty clean, okay? It's not great, but it's not a wire nut. Okay, you snip the wires, you strip them back quite a ways, stab them in, and if you've never used a Wago, lock it down. Okay, this is acceptable in the machine tool world. If you need like shot pin or pre-charge for the old one, you could put that there or that there. Now it's AC voltage, 120, so polarity doesn't matter. If you want to just change the gear shift, this would be adjust the gear shift for either. I guess I didn't bring, yeah, I did. This would be the mini one, this would be the big one. Links will all be below on what valve, what assembly you want. So let's talk about how to do it. If you're gonna get a full assembly, this is gonna be right behind the spindle motor, like that. I'm standing this way. And this is gonna be the spindle head status cable that comes up the back and plugs in, and then it tees off for the large tool release piston, the big blue one. So with a pick or just kind of fancy, you can get in here, pull that out. You can also pull this one, tool clamp solenoid, and you kind of have to squeeze it. If you have a little, I think I already said this, pick, screwdriver, makes it way easy. I almost got it. Got it? Okay. But when you're up in the machine and you're like working, it's hard. So the nice thing about this is it's a direct replacement. No hassle. You just plug it exactly in and the machine doesn't look like it's been butchered, because there's a lot of those out there where hodgepodge together, and it works. I mean, I'm not against hodgepodge, but when you do a quick fix, it gets it going, but then when you have to do the real fix down the road, it takes longer. One time I was doing this on a machine and somebody had like jumpered all these together, and then they had damaged this, so they like cut half of it off. And we have a Molex kit that has all the common pins, hoods, connectors, and crimp tool. And the customer didn't want to buy a new one of these, so I pinned the whole thing and made him a new one. So that can be done too, to avoid hodgepodge. But through the hole, around the back, goes through, this one goes there, boom, done, done, done. If you wanted to do one, you'd snip some wires and just follow the two that you need to do. Here's a trick. A goes up on the double valve, and on the triple valve, we number them. So if you were reading it, if I was reading it, back of the machine, 1, 2, 3, left to right. This, if you do have one of these, you're gonna have to get this and either cover it or get 2 single ones. That's that. A little more info. We've got another video that goes over gear shift stuff, but I wanna do a full understanding. This one here, A is up. If you don't put A up, the machine will try to shift into high gear. It'll go into low gear and you'll get a low gear alarm. And then you tell it to go into low gear and it goes into high gear and A goes up. And these two here are the orifices. We talk about people online say drill out the orifice. The orifice, I think it's like a 30 thou, maybe it's a 20 thou hole. It basically is like a restrictor and doesn't let the gearbox slam. But check out that video, I'm not gonna go into that right now. So let's talk about unplugging them, we already did, and taking them apart. The 2.5 millimeter is the Allen head that fits it. Don't try to use a standard. You'll strip it out and then use a metric Allen wrench. Now, if you're on a tiny little machine, the sheet metal or the head cover is right here, and you're gonna need a stubby, and you might not even have enough room to get a bit driver in there, and it can be hard. Let's see. Okay, the gasket is on this. Let's talk about the gasket. The gasket is flat on one side, that goes against the manifold, and the rounded O-ring side of the gasket goes in. Be careful when you're working up there on the head cover, you're usually either standing on this side of the machine or that, or right on the column. If this falls off and you don't notice it, now it won't, and you put it on, it's gonna leak like crazy. You have to have the air pressure off to change these. It's gonna leak, so be careful. What I do is put a couple of rags down to cover that hole that goes behind the gearbox. Then if you do drop the O-ring gasket, it'll just be right there and you can grab it. Otherwise, you're climbing underneath, uncovering the little cover underneath here and hunting for it in the dark with your hand and a flashlight. So pretty straightforward to take them off. We'll go up there, I'll do it on the machine. There'll be a video of that later in the video, but I'm just gonna pop these off to show you. Whoa, maybe. Okay, so this just comes off. If you're, very rarely have I heard of people saying their pre-charge valve is bad. I don't see it very often. If you're gonna change them both and your machine's 20 years old, yeah, it wouldn't hurt to put a new pre-charge valve. Keep your tool changer from banging and slamming against the tool. Save some bearings. I don't like stripping stuff. It's not a bad idea to change the whole thing because then it's all new. You don't have new mixed with old and Mickey Mouse wiring up there. It doesn't really take any, maybe a minute longer if you're replacing both or all three instead of just one. Let's get it. So, do yourself a favor and try not to get into the head cover. I have done this without pulling the head cover. You have to jog the head to the right place, pull the back cover off, but you don't have a lot of room. It's really tight. It's easier because, so the valves aren't that hard. So there, we just pulled these off. One of the gaskets came, one of them didn't. You're just gonna replace that, bolt the new ones on, turn the air pressure on, check gear shifting. That's gonna fix it. Check out the gear shift video if you want more information on that. New one's gonna bolt on. Where was I going? This guy. Because it goes in here, it's really hard. If you don't take the head cover off, you're like sticking your hand in here and trying to pull that out. So it's easier if you pull the head cover. You can check on the spindle belts, you can check on the encoder belts and the encoder pulleys, but just as easy, I could bolt the new one on. One last final thing. There is a section of machines built, I don't know the exact date, but people call me about them now and then, that don't have MAC valves and don't have a black manifold. It's some other funky manufacturer that you can't get anymore, and these won't fit. So on the website, we do sell this exact manifold. It's not easy to replace the manifold. No, no, no. You gotta unbolt it, take out the exhaust, unthread all of these, unthread those. If you have a machine with orientation, it's not easy. I wish I could make it easier for you. The alternative is to buy a brand new one from the OEM, which is the same amount of work, or you could get one from us, same amount of work, but less cost. So we're here to help you. I'm not gonna plumb it for you though, unless you're local, and then even then, maybe plumb it yourself. But all this has to come off, everything's gotta get plumbed back in. It's a big job, and I don't like brass fittings. They cross thread really easy. So, long-winded video. Hope you got a great overview. That's my goal. I'm trying to help everybody out there who has a machine shop. If you're still around, or maybe you skipped forward, we're gonna now do it on the machine. There's a lot of things you wanna prep before you go climbing up here. I don't have much room, but you'll have a little more room on your machine because you'll have sheet metal. First thing you do is to turn the air pressure off because you're pulling out the valves. Then you wanna get some wire cutters. You'll wanna get a 2.5 millimeter Allen wrench. I have a stubby, a long, and a bit driver. Makes it a little nicer. A baggie to put the O-rings in, a baggie to put the screws in, a 5/32 Allen driver if you haven't already pulled the head cover, and some rags to stuff underneath in case you drop a screw or if you drop an O-ring. Those are not fun to drop. So I almost dropped the screw a minute ago. Let's stuff a rag in here. A flashlight. If you got a flashlight, that'd be real nice to bring. So you can see a lot of times it's dirty cardboard, degreaser, rags, anything like that will make your trip up on top of the machine nicer. Gonna be replacing all three. The process is the same if you have two or if you're replacing just one. If you notice, we have two plugs. This one is gonna be the back side of the tool release piston. So we can pull that out. That's gonna go into here when we get it. And then the spindle head command cable, we're gonna pull that out. But first, I think it's wire tied. I typically like to do the cables first. And then I can check and make sure everything is loose and then I'm not fighting it and the wires aren't dangling. So all of these off. If you're old, I'll show you, but you might have these pancake looking things. They're called MOVs. If you have them, don't worry about it. So the opposite of this one, this is the one from the Solenoids. It doesn't have a clip, but you gotta pull the other side clip off, which is on the inside. Reach in there, just with your thumb, you can get it. Now, this is where it's nice to have a pick because you can push on the sides to get it to pull out. And there's no good reasoning you don't have to put it exactly back. There. Got this guy out and I just pushed right there on the sides with that and those tabs pulled in. So now we got one more to get out. On newer machines, it may be here. On mine, it's in the back. It's really the only two-prong plug up here, and the tabs are on the top and the bottom. So if you squeeze those and kind of wiggle it back and forth. This has been in here since 1995. Long time. Come on, okay, it's going. Yeah, a pick is really useful to shove that out. And I would do this with the machine off. You could, but there might be voltage on these, and I just don't want bad stuff to happen. So, wires totally disconnected. Rag is there. I'm just gonna pop these screws. Like I said, they're metric. If you try to do standard, they'll sort of work, but they won't get tight. And take a look. Like I said, these are numbered. The new ones are numbered, but orientation is crucial whenever you're taking something apart. Pull your smartphone out, take a picture. A should go up on the big one. I'll double check when I pull this out that A is up. Okay. And hold your hand underneath it when pulling it out to catch the gasket. The gaskets don't go bad. I've never seen them. This one's kind of, oh, I hit the wrong screw. I hit the screw on the next one over. This machine's got some space, but if you're working on a newer machine with an AC motor, the motor's a fatter, and there won't be much room here. Just barely enough. It might seem like a chore to just turn your Allen wrench a little bit, but it's easier than unplumbing this whole manifold. I can tell you that for sure. For sure. Okay, so coming off. Oh, and I lost a screw. Of course, we got extras. So O-ring is there. O-ring is pretty tight. The flat side goes against the manifold. I don't know where that screw is. If you drop stuff up here, it's like gone. Like down the column, behind the y-axis, behind the Z-way cover. I better put these away. Okay, next one. I already got that one halfway out. I really like ball Allen wrenches. They work well, except for when you got to get something really tight. Once I get them popped loose, I'll use my bit driver. Not a bad idea to wear gloves when you're up here, but it saves on washing your hands, but sometimes you can't feel this stuff very well. Okay, that one I didn't get. If you've got a newer machine, like a calm cabinet, the consolidated air and lubrication cabinet, I don't know if I showed it earlier in the video. Before the video's over, I'll show you. You have a different style gear shift solenoid because all the solenoids are in the back. I think it was a great upgrade to put all the solenoids in one place to make it easy to manage and replace. So I'm going to tip this up so I don't lose the screw like I did on the last one. Dump them out. Ooh, garbage. The calm cabinets are great. If you have a gearbox machine with a calm cabinet, you might have an SMC valve and you might have a MAC valve. And I think that's orange and blue are the two colored air lines, and they use a brass not quick disconnect, but like a compression fitting. We sell a repair kit for that valve as well. Everything's the same. You can direct replace it, both MAC or SMC. I got it all three right here, and I'm gonna dump those out. I don't think I lost any of the gaskets. Usually on the old ones, the gaskets are pretty well in there. Like I said, these are those flat pancake MOVs. These protect against high voltage. I think they have a diode in them. Not really necessary. All the new stuff doesn't have them. They just kind of were doing it on the old ones. I didn't check AB, darn it. Remember to check AB. But pretty sure A was up. Got a good feeling about that. Then these were, no, I don't remember. These were up because the numbers were up. Boy, talking and working. Like that. I'm gonna take a rag and wipe just to get any chips or anything off the top of that manifold so they don't end up plugging up the valves. There were chips on top of this manifold. I'm gonna wipe it off. Clean off that manifold. You can see someone's been in here. This should be straight airline. Looks like a snake. Got the new 3 here. I'm gonna put one gasket on, put the valve on. And they're numbered. I'm gonna put 1, 2, 3 in that order with the A up on the big valve. So grab one screw. Got one screw, one gasket, one bit driver, and some dirty hands. I wish I could count the number of times I've replaced these valves. A lot. I go out all the time to work on a machine, and they get gearbox alarms when they first turn the machine on in the morning and they hit power up, restart. Better pay attention. I don't want to lose a gasket. Okay, holding it in place. This is where it's nice to have that little bit driver. Real nice. It's going in. Once I get it tight, I'm holding it tight because if I let it off, the gasket will fall out. There. So it's tight now. It might clock a little bit, but that'll be no issue. You can use the old screws, unless they're stripped or something. I'm gonna just tilt it a little bit because it's kind of not square, and I'll tighten them all down at the end. Now we're gonna grab a gasket, screw for the next one. Get the right order. Number 2's going on. Gasket, I said flat side's out, kind of the roundy O-ring looking side goes towards the valve. Push this up against it. The valves sit really, really close. to each other, and there's a little bit of play in between the bolt holes, but the holes in the manifold and the gasket is big enough. So like right now I'm just hunting for it there, it clicked in. But when you do tighten them down, you'll notice you can just tweak the valve like that a little bit, and it's no issue there. It won't leak out the side or anything. Got the screw in. Trying to think of all the places I've replaced these valves. Lots of different companies. Did one on like a 1994 machine once. That was really old. I've done a bunch where I had to replace the full assembly from the manufacturer, and that was a lot of work. Disconnect all the valves, take everything apart, and decided that then we're just gonna make it easy and just make the valves available with the right fittings or right connections. Almost done. If I was out in the field and somebody, okay, I just about made a mistake. I shouldn't have let go of that. I think I'm okay, but the gasket could have popped off. They're getting careless. You'll know if the gasket's not right and you turn the machine on and you hear air going up here, bad news, you messed up a gasket. So don't throw away the old solenoids or gaskets, because you might lose one down in the abyss of the gearbox hole. So I'm wiggling this. Come on. There. Okay, it's going in. They don't need to be crazy tight. Don't over squish the O-rings. They're little threads. Gonna check everyone. Got them ordered correctly. Got A up. Hard to see up here. Hard to see. There we go. If someone called and said, how long should this take? It's a quick and easy job. That's my favorite saying. Everything goes well, not too long, but my experience is that I have on my schedule, I'm gonna go change somebody's shift valves because they need it done. Okay, take a break here. Talking about this guy and this guy. There's a hole that they go through, and you can go around and plug it in from the back, or you can just totally omit it and hang it up here. Don't let it touch the encoder belt or anything that's down there. This one goes like that, and this one goes through the hole and out here. If you put things back where they belong, the next guy who comes to work on it won't swear at the previous guy who worked on it. And also, if that guy's you're not ticked at yourself like I have been. Okay, plugging this one in. Gonna plug in the other side of it. Then I would hop off the machine, turn on the air pressure, and make sure that there's no leaking, meaning you had a messed up gasket. Then I would power restart up the machine, run an M41 or an M42. I'd run a tool change, do a full look over of the head, the pulleys. If you're in the machine, why not? Make sure you pull your rags out, clean everything. Just do a thorough welfare check. If you really want to go in deep, you could change the, coupling for the gearbox hydraulic motor. You could change that if you really wanted to, do some maintenance on your machine, but nobody does maintenance. That's it. They're in. I don't think it's too hard. Back to what I was saying though, time-wise. You could have 3 strip bolts on the head, you pull it off, you break the tool release piston. Things could just go bad really quick on these machines. You pull it off and the main belt is hanging on by one more strand. So 2 or 3 hours. If everything goes dandy, hour and a half, hour, maybe. On your second one for sure. Bonus section. So I forgot to explain, and I really want to show you a visual of what the gear shift solenoid does. We talked about what style of gear shift solenoid, how to change it. Now here's what actually happens. When the gear shift solenoids puts air to the shift piston, this gear goes up inside the gearbox, and it's either on this gear or it's down and it's on this gear. The gears are curved here, bezeled, so that they'll mesh better. This is the gear shift piston. Here's a piston, and here's the cylinder. These lines sit on the bottom of the gearbox, and these actually feed in to, well, let's see, I'll show you, right there and right there. So that's physically, we're talking about the parts that are doing the shifting. The bearing rides on here and it shifts inside this cylinder like that, up and down. And bolted to the bottom of this is the switches. And so here's your indicator. You're either in low gear or in high gear. And these go up and plug into the back of this guy right here for high gear and for low gear. So I wanted to give you a little more overview just so that you're working on this. What's going on inside this big aluminum casting? That's what's going on. This is moving up and down. And we've talked about in the gear video, gear shift, gear alarm, gearbox issues video, why does it not shift? You've replaced the solenoid, you've replaced the orifices or drilled out the orifices. This could be full of gunk. The O-ring in here could look as bad as the shot pin O-ring, or it could be blowing air by, full of garbage, or your teeth are all dinged up and then it doesn't want to mesh. So that's the bonus section. Hope you enjoyed it. I want to teach you about these machines and how they work. That's how to replace the gear shift solenoid. If you're only going to replace one, the process is no different. If you need these or any parts of your machine, you can check out our website. 200 to 300% cheaper usually than the manufacturer, especially on these parts. We have lots of other service tools as well. We do overnight daily shipping. So we're here to help you and teach you how to work on your machine. Check out all of our other videos and please tell your friends, your competitors, anybody who has a machine shop. And I'm here to help you fix it and teach you how to fix it. Thanks for watching.